Hello. As the director of Arpa International Film Festival, on behalf of our visionary founder, Sylvia Minassian, our jury liaison, Sonia Keshishian, and the entire Arpa team, I would like to welcome you to 24th Arpa International Film Festival. This year, we're online streaming on Eventive, and you can watch 70 films that the programmers have selected from 21 different countries. So please get online and watch all the films. You have a few more days. The festival ends on December 5th. Today, we have a special guest. I would like to welcome for the Q&A, the writer, director, and producer of the short animated film, The Cat. Born in Iran, Mary Apick began her film career as a child actress. One of her earliest successes was Octopus, the long-running TV show where she performed in political and satirical skits that helped liberalize the Iranian society. Mary Apick's Critics' Choice play, Beneath the Veil, has been presented at Lincoln Center in New York, the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., the Geffen Playhouse in Los Angeles, where my husband and I saw it to a sold-out event, and many other world-class venues. She recently co-starred in the feature film 12 Angry Women with Academy Award nominee Robert Loggia, Prize for Freedom with Academy Award nominee Sally Kirkland, who was our Icon Award recipient a couple of years ago, and Paul Sorvino, and Monday Nights at 7 with Academy Award nominee Edward James Olmos, who was also one of our award recipients in the past. With Academy Award winner Edward Olmos, she also co-starring roles in Straw Dolls, I Am Neda, and guest starred in 2 episodes of Homeland. Let's bring Mary Apick to do our Q&A with the very powerful short animated film, The Cat. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Maral John. How are you?
Fine. I'm so glad today we're together to talk about your latest animation film. And my first question to you is, what inspired you to make this wonderful film?
Well, animation has always been a medium that I have been very much interested in, but I have never actually worked on before. The inspiration usually comes from all the thoughts I have regarding the issues of women in the Middle East, the issues of women that have ethnic backgrounds and their struggle. And this was motivated by the situation of Iranian women in the past 4 decades and the change of regime and the atrocities against them, and taken all the constitutional rights from them, from their attire they wear all the way to their legal rights and social rights. and also in the same region within the recently, actually, it came out. This has always been on the agenda with the Afghanistan, the neighboring country of Iran, and the situation of women there, and horrible things that they do via the Islamic regime, and mandated for women how to wear their clothing, how to live their lives, and also recently on the idea of the Me Too movement, which happened in the United States. I think it's for resistance of women and the plight of women, and also the fight that we've had always to prove that we have to be equal, and there has to be democracy, and either in the family situation or globally. And Me Too movement was a very strong, powerful movement, and this picture is very much in line with that. It's the inner strength and the power and the courage of women to fight back. And so all these thoughts, Maral John, through the years, that I've had, I thought that it's really wonderful that I can do it via the medium of animation. I've never touched animation before, and I thought, well, this can be something, however, very short. In a matter of 13 minutes, I have to tell a whole story, which the story that I was going to tell is in volumes, just like my play Beneath the Veil that I've been focusing always for women's rights issue. And it's always, there are many, many stories to tell, but I just wanted to look at it from a child laborer, from a little girl that's selling flour in the streets of Tehran, and then the darkness that is following and the shadow that is following her through the literally centuries, and particularly in the past 10 decades. She's running away from it, and then eventually she has to fight it back within her inner strength. So that was the concept. I'm very sensitive about the situation of the child labor in Iran in particular. And it just breaks my heart every time I see kids are, out on the streets, and I see the mothers that they're in agony. They cannot feed their children. Either it's in Syria or it's in Iran or in Afghanistan or anywhere in this world. So basically this film, it just has a general message about women and little girls and child labor and seeking for equality and democracy and a better life. And especially that they can and they should try to focus and get the courage to speak out and get the courage to use their inner strength to fight back the darkness.
Thank you so much. That's so wonderfully said. You used a lot of symbolism in this film, and it's using symbolism. It provokes conversation. It's thought-provoking, and one of the things I noticed, you used the cat in the beginning. You had the white cat and then the black cat. And what's this whole thing with the cat?
Great question. You've seen it really thoroughly. Cat is the map of Iran. If you look at the Iran's map geographically, it looks like a cat. Since we were kids, we were going to school. One of the things that in class for geography, they would say, remember, Iran, the map of Iran looks like a cat. Of course, centuries ago, it was much larger and more region, but in the past centuries, that's the cat. So I wanted to refer it to Iran. And everything that has happened in the past 4 decades in Iran, which has affected the neighboring countries, which has affected the whole world, with suicide bomber, with supporting the Hezbollah, with 9/11, with everything and anything that happened throughout the past 42 years, it's been supported, promoted, and financed by the government of Iran, which is the government of Islamic regime of Iran. So, and of course, they have ripped apart that country. They have taken all the national assets and utilize it for themselves and bank it and all over the world. And people are suffering to this day. And I'm sure, not in every news media, but you can hear voices of people who want to fight back and they can't, because the government is so powerful and so linked to the other powerful countries that they can't. People are in prison, the torture system, women, the execution level is one of the highest in the world, without any reasoning, without any logical background to cases. So there's so much happening. And in fact, Maral John, I have to say one thing that was, for me to create this, there was so many volumes that I wanted to say, but I couldn't fit it in 13 minutes. And that's an epic picture of 5 hours. It's just like when we talk about Armenian genocide, which story are you going to pick? And how are you going to manage a film to say it all? But you try your best. And I thought, especially, within every work that I've done in the past, which has regarded the human rights issue and women's rights issue. And in fact, excuse me, my voice, excuse me, 1 minute. I was the recipient of the Arpa Foundation Award for that a few years back for my humanitarians effort. And so for me, it's very important that to use the tools in cinema, in theater, in any medium we can these days as filmmakers, as responsible filmmakers, to communicate with the world the important and major issues. And I found animation fascinating because I had so much room to tell. In a matter of 13 minutes, there was no way that I could actually create a production like my previous productions and bring the cast and the crew and the storyline in a matter of 13 minutes and say so much. So that's why I chose this format, and I'm very pleased with it. In fact, it motivated me to do more, and I have some other projects in animation coming up for the future.
Well, it's done to perfection. I must say there are several questions I have. One of them is, it's 6 minutes into the film. Like you said, it's only a very short film, but then halfway in the film, you see these musical instruments that are being destroyed and so on and so forth. And then also we have someone in the audience is asking a question about if the music was Armenian throughout the thing. The music was just amazing. Can you expand a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, first, let's speak about the symbolism. And you asked that question. Yeah, of course, because music is in general abandoned in Islam, in Islamic world that they have created now. Maybe it wasn't before, but now they have created their own rules or however they're managing it. Eventually, little by little, they had to allow music to come in. And because after the revolution, all arts, they just went bye-bye. So then little by little, they realized that they can't do that to the artists, to the community of musicians and artists. So eventually they brought it back in a very, very careful way. Like women can't sing publicly. Women cannot sing publicly. Women cannot record voices of their own. The voice is erotic to men in the Islamic way that they're presenting, these days. There's so much that it's mind-blowing. For the past 40 years, I've sat in the United States and I've observed the country that I was born in. Of course, I'm Armenian, but born and raised in Iran. And you can't understand how could we go like it's barbaric. The way they treated women, the way they stoned women to death publicly, hanged them to death publicly, tortured them. Everything is somehow to do with sexuality. So you have to cover your head, you have to not sing, you have to not have this and that and that. So all of that, and especially with the music. And the reason I'm destroying a music instrument in there is because the music symbolizes the universal language. And this is in a way to say that even the instruments are going to the fire pit, that to be destroyed, music, art, culture. And that is actually from the beginning when we show the factory, it represents that. When we go to that factory, that they are actually, with the trafficking, that they're putting lipstick on naked women and they're boxing them, stamping them, trafficking women. All the educated people's head are being taken out and they're putting on the cars to be pushing them to the war zones. I mean, there's so much message in this film. Each single shot, which message. So I'm sorry, I got disappeared from you for a moment. And so for me is it needed a lot of studying. It needed a lot of information. and years of thought process in order to go into the 13 minutes. That's where it came about. And as far as the music is concerned, I worked with a friend of mine that he's a master musician. He played the setar in this film, and I wanted to be very specific and very gentle. And at the end music, I have worked on myself, because I do compose music. And also the voice of the woman is my voice, the singing voice. In the beginning and at the end, I thought I should be there somehow. and it was an a cappella, and it was it is actually a very old Persian song, and it addresses a beautiful girl that is from the region of Boy Rahmat in Iran. And in Boy Rahmat, they have very strong women. They go on the horseback, and this has been for, long time. It's not something recent. They're very independent, and they learn how to shoot on the horse. They learn how to jump on a horse and ride. So for me, I thought this is wonderful song to use. However, it's addressing the girl as a beautiful girl that I don't know your name in Farsi. And but I want to come and get you. It's very romantic and beautiful, and it has message in it. So it is from the Persian culture.
Well, you have a beautiful voice, Mary, and the music is amazing. I mean, I was mesmerized. I watched it like few times, 4 or 5 times, just to listen to the music one more time. So it's very powerfully used. Like you said, it is the universal language. And the beauty of this film is that you really don't need to speak a language, because nobody's speaking in this. It's an animation, and it's like
no dialogue. Yeah, no dialogue. The film is not having a dialogue, and I didn't want it to have a dialogue. And the music is chosen very carefully too. Like I have only a couple of places that I have the music, and the rest of it is just the power of the sound and imagery, which is fascinating to me. That's why I sort of fell in love more. I started with Bugs Bunny when I was a child, falling in love with Snow White and everything we watch, all of us watch. And then eventually I thought, well, this is fantastic. Why not? Let me give it a shot. I really didn't expect this type of response, and I didn't expect it to turn out to be as what it is. But I'm glad. I'm very glad that every person who sees it, the comments have been magnificent. I'm very proud of it.
Tell me a little bit about the carpet weavers.
They use children for that fact. And when you're weaving carpet, you have to be very cautionary, because all the little from the threads, it goes into your bread, and a lot of these children, they end up with lung cancers or lung issues in the future. But they use children and women in order to weave the carpet. And so in that first factory that I'm presenting, there's a lot that is happening. It's basically Iran in that they're selling all the national assets. The head of Cyrus the Great is going on a factory roll. The Cyrus cylinder is going on a factory roll that is being sold out. Everything is being sold out. Everything is being prepared to go in that huge garbage bin and thrown away or be sold. And women are being in a prostitution form to be packaged and sent to different countries, which they do. They do it to Dubai. Persian women are going there for prostitution. Even in the religious cities in Iran itself, the prostitution level is very high. There are a lot of visitors that they come in the north section of Iran for some religious ceremonies, and there are women there, and there are agents there that they're selling these women. So, I feel that I am the little girl in this film, in essence. I'm running, and I have to fight this. And I think it's my thought process, because I've been affected by the revolution in Iran. My life was different. And at a young age, everything turned around. I'm a second generation actor. My mother, she's Apick, a major actress, legendary actress from Iran. And then I started when I was 11 years of age. And by the time I was 21, I was a major name as an actor. And everything shut down. I won an international award for acting. And then suddenly revolution, come to America. This is the sanctuary, quote unquote, and start from zero. And my life became observation of what was happening in Iran. I did a lot of work in regards to Iran. I spoke, very loudly, either on theater or cinema, and most of the work I've done. But yet again, I was observing, not believing that this can actually happen in our century, and how things are turning around, and the fear that this could be the future everywhere. This could be the future everywhere because of the power, the strength, the money, the strategy, the mistakes that politicians are making, and all that. And because he was overnight in Iran, and we saw it overnight changing. So now I'm saying, oh, maybe tomorrow here is going to change, and we're just comfortably sitting here and not even paying attention much to the politics of the world and everything that is happening all around us. It can happen. It happened to the Armenians in Turkey. And what a grand price we paid. Well, 100 years later, it's happening in Iran. So when are we going to learn? When are we going to learn from the genocides of the centuries? When are we going to learn from Cambodia, from Armenia, from Holocaust? When is human? So for me, all these thoughts and all I try to help. My heart breaks, and I know everybody else does, but I use the film. I use the animation now, or the theater. So that's basically what it is.
Well,
my life, that.
Yeah, Mary, you answered the question that I was going to ask. So, which was, what does your film say about the world we live in? So you kind of answered that. So essentially, it is a very powerful, very, very powerful short animation, which at first, when some of our viewers were watching it in the beginning, they said, oh my God, this is a film I want to send to my grandchild to watch. And then afterwards, of course, a few minutes in the film, you realize it's really a little too difficult for a child to comprehend at this point. This is a very, very much a film for a more mature audience, not for children. But it becomes. I'd like you to get more into the positive portion of this film, where an angel is going up the steps. And then tell me a little bit about how the transformation into the koi,
Yes, in the scene before, as she's running and the black shadow and the tar, whatever we call the darkness, is following her aggressively. She enters a room, and in this room, there's her mother sitting, her brother and sisters. And they're struggling with poverty. Like the mother hands a piece of bread to the son, and the son turns around and with great agony to see whether he can share that. And he has no choice but sharing the meal. So at that time, she realizes that the door is being broken and she has to run. And when the tar comes, destroys the mother and the children. And as they destroy, the destruction of the family gives her more power and wings to fly higher. So that's the beginning of her finding the strength, finding the courage, and understanding what has happened. So she has to fly higher, and she has to try higher, and she has to find a way to fight this darkness. I think with any tragedy in our lives, no matter how sorrowful, how difficult it is, when we lose someone we love, in a way, we feel that we may just lose all our powers. We have lost our emotions completely. How can we live like this again? And then eventually, as the time passes and it gets the processing, rolling, then you start getting stronger. You start getting a better fighter because you're fighting for the people who don't have a voice anymore. So she becomes the voice, particularly after the destruction of her family. And as she's running, she's seeing all this, everything is happening around her, from war zone, from, people are crying on the gravesite. And a lot of people have told me that we have to watch this over and over and over because there's so much that you've given. And in the scene that the graveyard is, and people are just hitting on their heads and crying, and even the darkness and tar comes and absorbs them as well. In the background, it's all the towers for the oil.
Mhm.
So if you really watch it, you will see that, like, the region of Khuzestan and then the south side of Iran. And the irony is this for me, Maral, that anything that I have written and I've thought about, which was a process of 40 years after the revolution, and it became this little, voice, today, it's not as if I made it yesterday, because the region of Khuzestan was struggling with water. I don't know whether you're aware of Iran, and people didn't have water to drink. So they were suffering. They were out on the streets. Children didn't have, it was dry because the whole system that exists, they have dried all the rivers. They have dried all the, areas that it collects the water. They actually are sending water to Kuwait because Kuwait needs water, yet their own people are struggling. So in the beginning of the film, when she's running, she arrives to these pots and she turns the pot and it's empty. And so when this thing happened in Khuzestan recently, like 3 months ago, I'm saying, oh my goodness, I made this film, like about a year and a half ago, like I started it. So all of this is layered in the concept of what's happening in that region. Iran is playing a major political and global role. And people have to accept this, and people have to be more observant, and people have to pay attention to what's happening there, because it's going to affect all of our lives globally. And it is already, but it's going to be more. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, my next question to you is, what are some of the things, where has this film been shown, and what are some of the comments you're getting from the audiences, and what is the future of your film?
I started submitting the film in international film festivals about, I believe, like around April or maybe March of this year. And so far, even as of last week, we won 17 Best Short Animation Award International. I have to change the number because I make a poster, I write 14 and then becomes 15, and then it's quite a lovely, wonderful journey for me as a filmmaker. And so we're rolling with this picture right now. It's qualified for the Oscar, and we're waiting for that. However, I know Oscars are very, very political in many different ways. And so hopefully, because my aiming for this picture was not as an actor or as just producing a great film, my thoughts were addressing a very, very important issue that I hope that it would be respected and regarded more through this film. People will understand that these are the issues that we're dealing with. Pay more attention to the world that you're living in. And if you just selfishly sit around and not think about the world and not take a step every single day for the betterment of it, we're going to destroy it in this little planet that is floating in the space. So on that point, I am hoping that more people would see it. As you mentioned in the beginning of this interview, which was a wonderful word you said thinking process. And it's true, Maral, the thinking process is very, very important, to start thinking that it's not just us, we're all together. I am a woman, you're a woman, we may be in South Africa, we may be in Iran or Armenia or wherever we're all united. And our voice should be united as women, and we have to. And this is not like someone just idealistically say, let's make a better world. It's not just that. There's so much detail, there's so much hard work involved in this. Yeah. And we are responsible as humans, in particular, if we are parents and we want to hand over this world that we have created to our children to carry through. If we love our children, we have a huge responsibility, and we do love our children. So we have to create a world that they would be more comfortable and not in fear. And so this is, at this age for me, to try to convey that again and again, put so much energy into this, instead of, as an actor, I've been successful. I could have just gone to Hollywood and tried to work my way up as an actor. you know, with the talent and all that. But that was a part of my career naturally, and it is still. It's my forte actually as an actor, but I just have to communicate with the world, have to make them realize that it's important to do this, have to remind them that think about this, invest into this subject of humanity. And women, how much have we suffered through the centuries? How much have we suffered? I am on the board of directors of the Armenian Film Foundation as well, for preservation of the voices of the genocide survivors. When I look at these footages and I'm looking and I'm thinking, how did they do it? How did they survive? And I can say that in this picture, however, the elements of it was taken from Iran, because I always, when I talk to Sylvia, I always say I'd carry two bags, Iran and Armenia. These two bags are there, and I'm a woman, so I'm looking at all the tragedies that has happened, and it breaks my heart, and I have to do it. If we don't do, who's going to do it? How can we be forgotten? How can we be forgotten on any level as human beings, as women? We are mothers, and that puts us in a vulnerable position. Also, it puts us in a very strong position because we teach love.
Yes.
We teach love to this world. We teach love to our children, to our family, to our husbands, to our mothers, to brothers, everything. So that has to spread. That's our reality, because the harsh reality is out there with governments and the greed and the power and everything that they want to do to humankind to fill out their bank accounts. That's what is greed. And then we have the responsibility that we have to make a better world. We have no other choice.
Well, it's again, like you said, people helping people. It's this is the way. If it wouldn't have been for Sylvia Minassian, this organization wouldn't have been created. We wouldn't have had the Arpa Foundation for Film, Music, and Art. And so next year is our 25th year. And it's not easy to, we're the longest running film festival in Hollywood right now. And, film festivals, they come and they go, but it takes people like Sylvia and Sonia Keshishian and her family and all their supports who are giving a voice to the filmmakers of the present, the past, and the future. And if it wouldn't have been for them, this year, the last 2 years, it wasn't easy to run a festival when we couldn't go into a theater. We had to do it virtually. But yet, I must say, people who are watching the films, they're saying, how come all the films are so dark this year? Well, what do you expect? What do you think? Look at the reality, look what we're going through. And of course, I must say that the independent filmmakers don't have too many places to go. It's Arpa Film Festival has created that. And Mary Apick has been with Arpa from the beginning, and she has opened her home to support our organization. And I must say that it's women helping women, and it's not just women helping women, it's women running the places, sometimes creating a venue, some place where these films can be showcased, and helping the filmmakers tell their stories. We've been telling, I did 2 Q&As the past few days. One was with a group of Italians, that they talked about their film, The Bolero. And then I also had the opportunity to speak with the filmmaker of Cuba to Africa, which is another powerful film, which tells the story of how people help people to survive, essentially. And it's what makes the world go round. We said it in the last Q&A, and again, I'll say it again. And thank you, Mary. Thank you
absolutely.
for what you're doing.
Thank you so much for mentioning all that, because I my regards and goes to Sylvia Minassian. She is a powerhouse, and she's done this for many years. And every time I see her, I tap her on the shoulder. I said, don't you stop. And she says, oh, okay, it's hard. I said, I know. You have created a sanctuary for films here. Sonia, Sylvia, and the wonderful, wonderful team, yourself, and the volunteers that they work there. They do a great, great job each year. I've utterly enjoyed being with this wonderful group of women and men that are working so hard to make this happen. It's not an easy task, but it's a woman's task. It's a woman's task, and that's what it starts for us as ethnic women, as Armenian women, as Iranian women, from the home, because we're homemakers. And in order to create a home, you have to be very organized, you know, and it starts from there and it goes on to the different levels. I mean, we're juggling constantly, balls in the air. Oh, I have to take care of my mom. I have to take care of my sister. I have to take care of like this and that. And that. It starts from there, and you have to be very coordinated and organized, and we have to help each other. There's no other choice. There is no other choice. And we're strong. And as I mentioned before, our vulnerability comes when you have children and you have to step back from the social work. I stepped back because I had to give all my attention to the children that are being raised. It's very important, especially for, where I come from and my background. Yet again, anytime you have an opportunity, just go forward and create that voice, the clear voice of women, that we are fighters. We won't give up. We will go forward no matter what you do to us, no matter how many children we have to carry on our back and one child in our hand and a bag and walk in the deserts of Turkey. No matter where we are, we have to fight back, and we are survivors because we have love in our hearts and we have the power to give, which is the most important thing. And that's how I've been affected through a wonderful mother, my mom, Apick, and my family, and everything I've learned from her in the business that I am, and eventually started working on my own. And I'm just, you are all powerhouse, and I'm just so proud of you. And I hope that this festival is going to go every single year. It's going to get stronger and better. And hopefully this COVID idea is going to disappear. And we can see each other face to face.
Yes. Next year, the plan, Mary, just to let you know, we are going to have God willing, I want to start with that. We will have a whole theater that will be taking to screen all the films from 2022. And it's our 25th year, so we are going to bring some of the past directors and get them involved, like Alex Kalognamos, it's like he's done a lot to bring the festival where it is, and he still helps us all the time. So we want to bring all the past members, volunteers, and create a really good celebration for our having a quarter of a century celebration. So
I'm very pleased to hear this, and I really appreciate your hard work, and thank you for this interview. You were very thorough. You really absorbed it very well, and I'm very happy to be a part of Arpa International Film Festival this year.
Thank you. Just in closing, I want to encourage everyone to go and watch the film. You will be pleased to see the work that Mary has put into this. And this is a film that I hope one day it will win the Academy, and I'll come and watch, I'll come and cheer for you, Mary.
I hope. Thank you so much, Maral John. Thank you.
And thank you, John Santos, our technical director, who has he joined us this year. And without him, we wouldn't be able to have these live Q&As. We wouldn't have a festival if we didn't have him. So thank you, John, for all your help.